we see a man singing passionately to a small and intimate crowd about the pains of loss, traveling the world, and embracing death. His tenderness resonates, and you believe his sorrow to be authentic. He is told that a friend of his is waiting for him in the alley, and upon greeting this would-be friend, he is beaten and left laying on the cold streets of Greenwich Village. The man then awakens, draped in shadows, with a cat perched on his lap, and the cat softly leaps towards a window framed with the bright natural light of the sun. Llewyn Davis is a man drifting through his existence, with no money in his pockets and no place to go home to. He relies solely on the kindness of the people around him, people who more often than not seem to simply tolerate him rather than enjoy his couch crashing. He has alienated himself from those that should be closest to him, and is only existing for one purpose: to perform his music in an uncompromising way, and to one day gain notoriety by doing this one task. He sings songs about death, being able to lead the life that he has been given, and about the women he has lost. He also seems to become agitated and annoyed by success and adulation being granted to his musical peers, and he disrespects the few people who do seem to appreciate his music. As to them it is enjoyment, but for him it is a career. He has created a career fueled by his sadness. We find out that Llewyn used to be in a duet with his friend Mike, but Mike has unfortunately committed suicide by jumping off of the George Washington Bridge. The songs that Llewyn sings are constant reminders of his lost friend, and he is unable to escape the consuming shadow of their accomplishments and the lonely depression that comes with grief and sorrow. It doesn't help that everyone he meets seems to mention that he would sound better as a duet, or accidentally brings Mike into the equation. He also has to literally carry Mike around with him at one point in the film, as he is given a box of their unsold records. But to him, the idea of giving up on music would be akin to him giving up on his life, and in a way giving up on Mike. So he refuses to turn his back on a career that is a constant reminder of his sorrows, and one that has also led to him abandoning the ones who have loved him and seem to want to continue to do so. Jean, a married couch supplier for Llewyn, has become pregnant, and she believes the child may be his, and because of this must terminate the pregnancy to salvage her marriage. In her moment of tragedy, she tells Llewyn that he doesn't want to go anywhere in life, and that's why all the same shit is going to happen to him over and over again, because he wants it to, and that there is no middle ground for his existence. He either succeeds on his own terms, or dies with nothing as a loser. Inside Llewyn Davis is a movie of polarizing extremes: life and death, success and poverty, love and loss, and so on. We are introduced to a cat named Ulysses, who accompanies Llewyn throughout his adventures, and seems hell-bent on finding its way back home. Llewyn loses Ulysses, but finds another cat who he believes to be him. There are now two Ulysses, similar to Schrodinger's cat, one alive and the other presumed dead. We also come to find that this is not Llewyn's first time paying for an abortion, as he had previously done so with a girl named Diane, but she, without informing Llewyn, decided to abandon the procedure and keep the baby. One baby living, and one soon to be terminated. The cat and the babies are metaphors for the crossroads of Llewyn's life, for which there are many. One desperately trying to return to its comforts of home, and the other aimlessly drifting through life. Even the places that Llewyn spends the night are framed as narrow hallways with two opposing doors, one leading to his comfort for the night, the other to who knows where. Llewyn must learn to come to terms with his loss, but also to accept that the world does not owe him for his talents, and that talent does not guarantee success. Llewyn decides to carpool to Chicago with two men that symbolize the two feared outcomes for Llewyn's life if he is to continue on with his career path. Al, a cynical, emotionally cold, and arrogant jazz musician, whose only distinguishable attributes are a lame right leg, a penchant for heroin, and his career. And then there is his younger driver, who is a self-deluded Puritan who is forever trapped in a role of tiring servitude. As he tells the story to Llewyn, Ulysses seems to share Llewyn's distaste for his words. Llewyn views both of these options as detestable, as he refuses to play the role of the hardened careerist or the forgotten idealist. He believes that by reaching Chicago and performing for Mr. Grossman, the owner of the Gate of Horn, this will grant him his salvation from these two agonizing options. Although Gate of Horn is a real establishment in Chicago, it's hard not to notice that it too has a duality to its name: the gates of heaven and the horns of hell. Gates of Horn and Ivory is also a literary term, used to distinguish between true and false dreams, which Llewyn seems unable to do. The road to Chicago is dark and cold, almost as though he is driving towards his ultimate fate, as they are pulled over by a police car and Llewyn is forced to travel on his own. He stares at Ulysses, sitting in the back seat, and slams the door on him. He has no desire to go towards the warm light of his home. Upon reaching Gate of Horn, a building shrouded in darkness with a ray of light slashing through it, Llewyn plays for Mr. Grossman, but also plays for his perceived salvation. He sings a song about his regrets and of lost love. He sings about Jean and his possible child. Whether the one that lives in Akron with Diane, or the one that's soon to be terminated with Jean, is not made clear, but surely doesn't matter. But Grossman breaks his dream by telling him that he sees no value in it, and Llewyn is left feeling dejected from the world that was once such a comfort for him. Llewyn starts his trek back home to end his Ulyssian journey by hitching a ride with a man, so long as he is willing to take the wheel for him. He must be in control of his own journey. The road is dark and cold as Llewyn passes a road sign for Akron, Ohio, a reminder of things lost that he can never reclaim. And while lamenting over what is lost, he hits a stray cat and leaves his vehicle to see it limping off into the darkness. The cat, a third Ulysses added to Llewyn's life, is alone in an unknown world on the brink of death. But Llewyn does not follow the cat towards death, and wakes up in the child's bedroom, a rebirth in a way, as he can start anew. He attempts to rejoin the merchant marine, but he is not on the roster or current and must pay his dues, which leaves him naked, but with a clean sheet, not unlike a newborn child. He must pay his penance to start a new life. He visits his father in his senior's facility, and plays for him a song of genuine heart, about longing for the comforts of simpler times, the women one loves, and the love of a humble career at sea. But his father soils himself, and Llewyn's view of a simple life is quickly shattered, and he comes to find that his license and pilot's papers have been thrown out, and he cannot afford to replace them, and thus he is unable to join the merchant marines. Did the world deny him his right at a fresh start at sea, or did he lead himself there because of his detestable view of his father's own life? So he returns to the life of a folk musician, but first must verbally abuse a woman attempting to express herself on stage, and also finds out that Ulysses the cat has somehow found his way back home. Even Ulysses seems capable of doing what Llewyn cannot. And we come to find that our opening scene of Llewyn passionately singing at the gaslight was a flash forward to where we are currently, and our movie has been leading up to that one moment. This has not been a story of a man dusting himself off after being knocked down in an alleyway. This is a story of the lead-up to a man reaching his collapse. There are slight differences this time around, however, as Llewyn sings Fare Thee Well, a song about saying goodbye to someone you love. Llewyn has finally said goodbye to Mike, but also to the music that tethers him to him, and we see a young Bob Dylan starting his career and singing his song of farewell back to Llewyn. And Llewyn, laying in the alley after being punished for his inability to exist, has found something worse than Jean's decree of Llewyn's life repeating itself. That it is worse to have the world around you be indifferent towards your struggles, and to keep on moving forward without you. But I think for the first time in a long time, Llewyn might be able to breathe in the cold Greenwich winter air, and feel a bit of relief as once again he must stare at the crossroads set before him. But hopefully this time, without the sorrows of his losses, but rather just the fond memories of his beloved friend Mike. For the sake of keeping this video relatively short, I've cut out talking about who the man in the alley is and what he represents. But if people have interest, I will discuss him and his importance to the story in a separate video.